this mean? Rational planning? What is it all about? It sounds very important. I know who can I ask about this. Diba?
If there's a place you gotta go, I'm the one you need to know. I'm the map.
Market failure, resource mobilization, resource allocation,
I'm the map.
psychological impact, foreign aids. How is it connected to rational planning? What is it all about?
Market failure refers to a situation defined by an inefficient distribution of goods and services in the free market. In simple terms, market failure happens when the market doesn't work properly, when prices don't reflect the true value of goods, labor, or resources. This is common problems in developing countries, or to be specific, in less developed countries, where markets are often disorganized or imperfect. That is why many experts argue that governments should play an active role in the economy. They can help correct these failures by planning properly and guiding investments into areas that benefit society or the country. In 1970, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization said that governments should not just stand by and let the market decide everything. In less developed countries, market forces alone are not strong enough to fix deep economic problems like poverty or lack of infrastructure. Planning is not only helpful, it has become an essential part of development. Sometimes, the market does not support industries that are important in the long run. Governments can step in, especially when the private sectors avoid these important sectors. Here are the common types of market failures. First is the externalities. An externality happens when an action affects people who are not part of the decision or transaction. It's like a side effect, something that affects others who had nothing to do with it. And negative externalities, these are harmful effects. For example, a factory produces goods but also releases smoke into the air. The nearby residents inhale the polluted air, even though they didn't buy from or work at the factory. Next is the positive externalities. These are harmful effects. For example, a student gets vaccinated and prevents others from getting sick. Second is the public goods. Public goods are special because they are non-excludable, which means you cannot stop people from using it. But here's the problem. People can benefit public goods without paying for them, which is called the free rider problem. Well, the government often provides public goods to make sure everyone has the access to them. Third is the monopolies. A monopoly happens when one company controls an entire market with no real competition. When this happens, the company can set high prices, reduce product quality, or block new businesses from entering the market. For example, if one internet provider exists in an area, they can charge high prices and customers can't switch. Monopolies are harmful because there's no competition. Consumers have limited choices, and lastly, innovation slows down because the company doesn't need to improve. That is why governments may need to regulate monopolies or encourage competition to protect consumers. Lastly is the information asymmetry. This happens when one person in a transaction knows more than the other, leading to unfair or risky decisions. For example, when buying a second-hand car, the seller might hide problems like damaged engine. The buyer doesn't know and ends up with a bad car. This creates mistrust and unfair outcomes in the market. To fix this, governments may require truthful advertising, product labels, or warranties so buyer can make better decisions. In our locality, the quarry operations in Naga Cebu is an example of market failure because it creates negative effects on people who are not part of the businesses. This is called a negative externality. The company earns profit from quarrying, but the nearby residents suffer from risk like landslide, air pollution, and health problems. These harmful side effects are not included in the cost of company's operation. Because the market doesn't automatically fix these problems, the government had to suspend the operation. This shows that when businesses cause harm to others without paying for the damages, the market fails to be fair or efficient.
Aha! I get it now. How about the resource mobilization? What is it all about?
Resource mobilization is basically the process of finding, gathering, and using different kinds of resources to achieve an organization's goals or to carry out a project. It's not just about getting funds, but also about making sure you have the right people, knowledge, and equipment at the right time, using them wisely. There are several types or categories of resources that organizations usually mobilize. The financial resources, human resources, material resources, social organization resources, and cultural and moral resources. When we say financial resources, it's about money, grants, or donations. When we say human resources, it's talking about people, their skills, and expertise. As for the material resources, it is about physical things like equipment, office space, and supplies. For social organizational resources, it's about networks, partnerships, and community support. And lastly, the cultural and moral resources that shared values, legitimacy, and public support. Academic sources and institutional guides, like those from the World Bank and development agencies, highlight that resource mobilization is a key part of strategic planning and is essential for the sustainability and growth of organizations and communities. Now, why is resource mobilization so important in planning? Planning is all about setting clear goals and figuring out how to reach them. But even the best plans won't work if you don't have the resources to make them happen. And that's where resource mobilization comes in. It ensures you have what you need, when you need it, to turn plans into reality. If there's no proper planning for resource mobilization, organizations can run into big problems. Projects might fall because of a lack of funds or manpower. Resources could be wasted or misallocated. Opportunities for partnerships or support might be missed. In short, resource mobilization is a bridge between planning and action. Without it, plans remain just on paper or just ideas on paper. Now let's look at some recent global trends. Resource mobilization has become even more critical during emergencies like the COVID-19 pandemic. So government and organizations worldwide had to quickly mobilize financial, human, and material resources for health responses, vaccine rollouts, and economic recovery. Another example is climate action. International bodies like the United Nations and the World Bank have emphasized the need for massive resource mobilization to support climate adaptation and disaster response, especially in vulnerable countries. There is a growing trend of partnerships, like government working with private companies, NGOs, and international donors to pool resources for bigger impact. Here in the Philippines, resource mobilization is a major concern, especially in disaster management and social development. For example, after Typhoon Odette in 2021, the government, NGOs, and international donors had to mobilize huge amount of aid like money, relief goods, and volunteers to help affected communities. Another current issue is the government's push for universal health care. The Department of Health and PhilHealth have been working to mobilize more resources, both funding and health workers, to expand services and reach more Filipinos. However, challenges like funding gaps and limited manpower show why planning and resource mobilization must go hand in hand. To wrap up, resource mobilization is all about gathering and using resources effectively to achieve goals. It's a core reason why planning is necessary in governance and development because without the right resources, even the best plans can't succeed. Whether globally or locally, the ability to mobilize resources determines how well we can respond to challenges and create positive change.
Aha! I get it now. How about the resource allocation? What is it all about?
Resource allocation is the process of distributing available resources such as money, personnel, time, and materials across various tasks, projects, or sectors to achieve a specific goal. According to the World Bank and OECD, it ensures that limited resources are used efficiently to maximize value and impact. So there are different types of resource allocation. The first one is the financial allocation. So, it is where budgeting funds or programs happen. The second one is the human resource allocation. It is where the staff or the labor are assigned. The third one is the time or resource scheduling. It is managing time or material assets. The fourth one or the last one is the natural resource allocation. It is managing land, water, and energy resources. So why it is related to rationale of planning? It is because resource allocation is one of the main reasons why planning is essential. Because without a clear plan, 1. Resource can be wasted or misused. 2. Projects may fail due to unfunding or poor timing. 3. Governments and organizations lose the ability to respond to urgent needs effectively. And last one, planning ensures that resources go where they really needed or most needed, aligning with the strategic goals. So in a global context, governments and organizations use planning to manage large-scale programs. For example, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals or the SDGs. So it depends on the country how they properly allocate resources to end problems like poverty or improve education and of course fight climate change. So to summarize it all, resource allocation is essential to effective planning. It ensures limited resources are used wisely, and without it, systems can break down. From global green projects to national food security programs, planning allows countries to maximize impact and, of course, prepare for a better future.
Aha! I get it now. How about the psychological impact? What is it all about?
Planning in governance and policy making doesn't just involve economic or structural strategies. It deeply affects the attitudes and psychological well-being of the population. When people see structured plans from government like economic recovery plans, infrastructure development, or social welfare programs, it boosts public confidence, reduces uncertainty, and builds trust in leadership. So, if there is a lack in planning, how can it affect attitudinal or psychological impacts? So, according to a report released by the World Health Organization in Europe, more people are losing trust in governments and public institutions, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. When people do not feel the benefit of government policies like healthcare or financial help, but see others benefiting from it, they increasingly turn away from the government or other public entities and institutions, meaning to say, they stop trusting the system. Planning enhances public confidence. Citizens feel more secure and motivated when they see well-organized, transparent, and future-oriented governance. This leads to greater participation and compliance, especially in development and reform initiatives. And when there is lack in planning, citizens might view the government as unreliable and might increase public anxiety. That is why well-planned economic interventions help stabilize expectations. When people saw that the government was responding promptly, it reinforced trust in public institutions.
Aha! I get it now. How about the foreign aids? What is it all about?
Foreign aid refers to the support that developing countries receive from richer countries or international organizations. This help usually comes in the form of money, technology, resources, or even expert advice. But before a country can receive aid, it often needs to create a detailed development plan. These plans usually have specific goals like improving schools, building hospitals, boosting agriculture, or developing new industries. They serve as a kind of shopping list that shows donors exactly how their money will be used. Let's take the Philippines for example. When the government wants to receive assistance from organizations like the World Bank or the Asian Development Bank, they first prepare a comprehensive project proposal. For instance, the Build program needed strong planning to attract funding and partnerships internationally. Another example is the Japan International Cooperation Agency, which supports projects like improving transportation infrastructure in Metro Manila. Without detailed planning, it would be hard to secure that kind of support. Globally, countries like Kenya and Ghana also depend on well-prepared development plans to receive foreign aid. These plans help them attract funding from the United Nations or NGOs for projects like building clean water systems, improving healthcare, or supporting farmers. But here's an interesting point. Some people believe that not all development plans are made purely for national improvement. Critics say that sometimes governments focus too much on creating impressive-looking plans just to get aid money without fully thinking through how the projects will really help their people. Still, when used wisely, foreign aid can create real opportunities. It can help a country move closer to its goals, build stronger economies, and improve the lives of millions of Filipinos. At the end of the day, foreign aid is not just about receiving help, it's about showing donors that you have a clear vision and a solid plan for success. So in short, good planning invites good supports.
and good support leads to greater chances for real growth and development.
Aha! Now it makes sense. Thanks, Mom, for showing me the way to understanding rational planning.
If there's a place you gotta go,
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So today we are going to talk about rational planning. So let me start by asking Dora, please you can tell me what rational planning is?
Rational planning is the process of understanding why we plan and what our goals are. It also involves knowing the purpose, setting clear objectives, and analyzing the context, and being prepared for what lies ahead. So by learning its components, we're better equipped to make thoughtful decisions and succeed in whatever we do. So that is rational planning.
Very good. That is a very excellent explanation. Can you give Dora a round of applause?
If there's a place you gotta go, I'm the one you need to know. I'm the map. I'm the map, I'm the map. If there's a place you gotta get, I can get you there, I bet. I'm the map. I'm the map, 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 I'm the map!